Hello, LA Nation. So, last week I asked for suggestions. I made like a post asking for suggestions for topic that you want me to teach this weekend. And a lot of you did not respond to my comments or to my post. I'm watching you. Just know that I'm watching you. But 3 brave women decided to respond to it, and 2 of them asked for a female blazer, but I already have that on my channel. So if you have not seen it, go check it out. It is waiting gingerly, patiently for you. So go check out the video on how to create a female blazer. I'm going to put it in the cards somewhere here. So one of my favorite subscribers also requested for a Batwing dress. She said she wanted to learn how to make a V-neck Batwing dress, and today that is exactly what we're gonna do. So the thing about Batwing dresses is that as long as the sleeves are huge, it's like a Batwing dress. Sometimes it is very huge, like what I'm wearing right now is a Batwing dress. It's just like a small Batwing dress because it stops like halfway up. No, it stops like quarter way of my arm or something like that. So sometimes it goes really big and it tapers off to the end, like it goes very wide like this and becomes small. It can be long, it can be short, it can be medium, and it might not taper off. You might just want it to be big all through. It depends on your preferences and what you want. Now, because it's summer period, I want my sleeve to be short and I want it to like be a little bit free so that breeze will enter my body. You understand, that kind of thing? So it depends on what you want or what season you're in your respective cities or countries, you know, or whatever. So enough of my talk. We're going to go into the tutorial now, but make sure that you watch it to the very end. Don't stop halfway or else I will haunt you. Or no, maybe not, just joking. But make sure you watch it from beginning to the end. Like, share, subscribe. See you on the other side. So depending on how much of a fabric that you have, you can always fold your fabric into 2 like this. And the first step that you need to take is to know how wide your fabric should be, how much fabric you actually require for this. Now, the first thing you need to know is your shoulder to shoulder measurements. That is from one shoulder bone to the other shoulder bone. You're going to measure that. Now mine is 14 inches. I'm going to divide that into 2 because my fabric is folded into 2, and that will be 7 inches. So I'm just going to measure 7 inches here, and I know that this is my shoulder to shoulder measurement 7. And then the next thing that I need to know is how long I want my sleeves to be. Now if you want your sleeves to be very long, that means you need more fabric on this side. If you want your sleeves to be about 10 inches or whatever inches, it depends on how much fabric you actually have. So I have about 19 inches here. This is going to get to like 3/4 of my sleeves about here, and I don't necessarily mind that, so I think that should be okay. So I'm just going to leave it at this 19 inches. So 19 plus 7 is about 26, and is exactly 26, and I have about 26 inches right here. So that is how I know how much fabric I need to fold over to make this. So if you want your sleeve to be longer, you need more fabric. If you want it to be shorter, then you can reduce the amount of fabric that you're going to fold here. Now the next thing is also, depending on how much fabric you have, you are going to fold it over into 2 like this. Like this. This is how we're going to fold it, because we want the front and back to be exactly the same thing. Now if you cannot fold it like this, it is fine. You can cut the front first and then cut the back. The only reason why you want it to look like this in the first place is because you don't want any seam line at the shoulder area. But if you don't mind the seam line at the shoulder area, then you can cut the front first and then cut the back later. And that is what I prefer. I don't mind the slim and the seam line, so I'm just going to, I'm going to just go back to this way that I was using before. I'm going to cut the front neckline, and then I'm going to cut the back. I'm going to cut the front piece, and then I'm going to cut the back piece. That is easier for me anyway, because the neckline is different for the front and it's different for the back. The front neckline is going to be a V-neck, while the back neckline will be a regular round neck. So let us get down to the business. Now I'm going to measure 3 inches here at the top here. I'm going to measure 3 inches right here. Then I'm going to measure 5 inches here. Now at the 5-inch mark that I measured, I'm going to go down by 1 inch. If you are conversant with a lot of my videos, you will have seen me do this a lot of times when I'm making like a dress or a top or something. Like, this is the standard that I always use. Now from my 3 inches mark here, I'm just going to take my ruler and then slope it down to meet my 1 inch mark, and then I'm going to just keep drawing all the way to the end of my fabric. you have to follow that slant all the way to the end of the fabric. I wish my ruler was longer. I would have just done it in one full, swipe. But I can't do that, but the Lord will provide better ruler for me. Amen. Anyway, so I'm just going to roll this all the way to the end right here, and now I have my shoulder slant. I particularly like doing it like this because this line will follow the line of my shoulder and the line of my sleeve, like it will follow it very well, unlike having all this excess fabric on top here. I don't want to do that. I like to know what I like to control what I'm doing, right? Okay, so now after doing that, I have my 3 and I have my 5. Now, depending on how wide you want your v-neck to be, it depends on how wide you want your v-neck to be. You can increase this to 4, you can increase it to 5, you can leave it at 3 if you don't want too much space around your neckline. Now, because it is summer, we still want breeze to enter our body, so I'm just going to go in by extra 1 inch. So it's going to be 4 inches now. So I want my neckline to be 4 inches by, it depends on how long I want, how low I want my v-neck to be. I think a low neck of 7. I want it to be 7 because it's better for it to be high up than for it to be low down. If it is high up, you can always shift it downwards if you want, but if it is too low, there is no magic that you can do to make it high. The magic will be a very complicated magic, and I don't want complicated this morning or this afternoon or this evening, whatever time it is that you're watching it, and I'm sure you don't want complicated either. So I have ruled that, and this is my neckline right here. Okay, so the next thing now is to go to this side and determine how wide I want my sleeve to be. I want it to be about yay wide, so let me measure that. That means I want it to be about 12 inches wide. So I'm just going to mark 12 inches here. After marking 12 inches here, and then going to measure from this top here, I'm going to go back here and measure from my shoulder to my waist. My shoulder to my waist is about 16.5 inches. So I'm going to note that this line right here is my shoulder to waist. This is my shoulder to waist line. Now, the thing is this, I want it such that my waist is still small even though my sleeves are wide, because this is a stretchy fabric. I should be able to get it done. If it's not a stretchy fabric, if it is not stretchy, that means that you have to make your shoulder wide and then use elastic band or an elastic to make it small at the waist. But I don't think I need to do that because my fabric is stretchy. So I'm going to measure my waistline. That is going to be 26 divided by 4. I think I've gone bigger than 26 now. I think it's 27 now. So 27 divided by 4, and that's going to be 6.75. So I'm going to measure 6.75 right here. So you see the difference between this small part and this part here. So what I need to do is to sort of like bring it up and then bring it back down. Do you see what I say? I will bring it up like this and then bring it back down because I want it to be this wide still. So I'm going to take it up like this, and then I'm going to bring it back down to my 12 inches wideness, and that is what we have. So we have this curve. I'm tracing with my hands just in case the marker is not bold enough. So we have this from here to here is my waistline, and then I'm bringing it up so that these parts can be fitted, and then I am taking it all the way down here. So now I have my neckline, I have my shoulder slant, I have my sleeve wideness, and then I have the slant from my sleeve all the way to my waist. Okay, so let me see if I can bolden it a little bit so that you can see it a little better, mate. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Don't mind me, I'm being silly. So this is what we have right here. So the next step now is to actually draw my skirt part. Now, to have my skirt part, I'm going to just push this all the way up here. Right. Now, because my my dress is stretchy, so the thing is this, my waist to hip is 9 inches. I'm going to measure 9 inches right here. Now, because my dress is stretchy and I don't really require that, I'm just going to like dart. I mean DART. I don't really require darts. So I'm just going to like sort of like wing it, like a bat wing, you know, we're winging it. Okay. So at the hip, my hips is 40 inches. So divided by 4, that will be 10. So I'm going to subtract 1 from that 10, and that will give me 9. So because it's stretchy, that's why I'm subtracting 1 to give me 9. So I'm going to mark 9 right here. So I'm going to then take my curve ruler and then draw a nice curve from here to here. Now you see that in this particular situation, I'm not putting darts, and at the same time I'm not using waist and hip allocation. If you want to know the waist and hip allocation formula, make sure you go check out my how to create a very fitted pencil skirt. That will, you know, shed more light on how to create like a nice waist and hip allocation to make a perfect pencil skirt, especially if the fabric is not even stretchy. But this fabric is so very stretchy, so I don't need that and I don't need any allocation. Get what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. All right, so how long do I want it to be from my waist to my knee? I want it to be, you know, a little bit short. No, it's summer. We have to show summer body, but not too much of the summer body. Just a little bit of the summer body. So from my waist to my knee, I want it to be about 22 inches. Let me quickly check. So yes, I want it to be about 22 inches. So this, I'm going to measure from my waist to my knee now. It's going to be 22 inches right here. I'm going to measure it on this side so I can get a perfectly straight line. Measure 22, and then make sure that if you have any question for me, you put it in the comment section. I am open to questions. I always love to answer your questions, so please, if you have any questions, make sure you put it in the comment section. Now, as I was saying, now because from here to here I measured 9 inches, the thing is, because I want it to be a pencil skirt, I want it to be pencil-y at this bottom, at this end. I want it to be a little bit pencil-y. So I'm going to subtract 1.5 from 9 inches right here. Or you can subtract 1 if you don't want it to be too pencil-y. You can just subtract 1. But if you want to be pencil, just subtract 1.5 inches from this down here. So 9 minus 1.5 will give me 7.5. So I can just mark 7.5 right here. Mark it right here. And then I can join with a straight line from my hip to here. And I'm going to add 0.5 inches seam allowance round about it. Just 0.5 inches because I'm going to serge most of this. Now since I'm going to serge it, I just need about 0.5 inches section. Now, this is what we have after cutting it. So tell me, isn't she lovely? Woo! Okay, that's it. But you know, this is what we have after cutting it. And, you know, the edges are a little bit rough, but there's nothing a serger cannot do at this point. So this is what we have for our Batwing dress. Now, for someone who wants to taper it at the hem, if you wanted to like make this part small, all you have to do is just measure your wrist or your, you know, 3/4 inch circumference, because this is going to stop at 3/4 inch. So measure that, and then on either side of this, take that measurement and then just taper it here, or you can just taper it from here and bring it here. You can shape in your, you know, sleeve anyhow you want it to be shaping. You can, you know, go like this, bring it up like this. You can even, you could have made it wider if you want. So it depends on your preferences, but this is what I'm going for, and this is what I want, and this is what I'm gonna do. Now let's move to the back of it. Now we just cut out the front, and we're going to use the pattern for the front to also create the back. Now, one thing that I need to also mention, I wish I mentioned it at the beginning, is that make sure that the stretchier parts of your fabric, the stretchier part of your stretch fabric is this is where it is. Make sure that this is the stretch. The less stretchy part should be the vertical, but the stretchier part should be the horizontal part of your dress, because that way it will envelope your body very well, and you know, it will bring out the goodness of God on your body. Anyways, let's move on to the back pattern. So now I'm going to just take my fabric like this, and I'm going to place my back pattern on it like so. Okay, so after arranging it, this is what I have. Now the front and back are going to be exactly the same. The only difference will be the neckline, because I don't want a V neckline at the back. I just want a simple 1-inch neckline for the back, but everything else is going to be exactly the same. Now, is that not simple? Is that not straightforward? Like, I don't know, but it's so simple. And okay, I need to stop talking to myself, but it is pretty straightforward at this point. So all we have to do here is to just take this and curve it out by just 1 inch. Now, if you want it to also be V-neck, you can just do the same thing and cut out a V-neck. If you want it to be curved neck but lower, you can always also just doctor, or do something like you could just take it like this and bring it out like this, depending on your preferences or what you want for the back. But this is what I want for the back of my dress. So I'm just going to take this tiny cut here for the back and then trace out everything else. They're exactly twins, but this is the birthmark that differentiates twin 1 from twin 2. Just this one. So that is just what I'm going to cut out now, and then we move on to the next stage. I finished cutting everything out, and we have this for the front neckline and we have this for the back neck. So after doing this, the next step is to create facing for the neckline, because you want the neckline to be as neat as possibly, or as you possibly can. Pardon me. So I'm gonna just take this fabric right here, and this is how I create my facing. The facing is like a lining, but like not a full lining. It's like just lining the neckline and a little part of the shoulder. That's what facing means. I did that in my last video, the video on how to create an eye-low dress. So if you have an eye-low top, I also created facing for the top. So if you have not seen that, you should go check it out too. Yes, I know I am advertising my work, but if I don't, who will? So please make sure that you go back there and check out what I'm talking about. Anyway, so for the neckline, so I'm going to just arrange everything, make sure everything is well arranged, and then I'm going to take my chalk. Where's my chalk? My chalk is running away from me really. So I'm going to trace out the neckline for the front on my facing. I'm going to trace out the V neckline because you want it to be exactly the same. I'm just going to trace out the V neckline for the front like this, and I'm going to also trace out a little bit of this side. I'm going to trace out about 3 inches. So this is 3 inches. So yes, I'm going to trace out about 3 inches right here. So after doing that, I'm then going to also trace 3 inches on this side, 3 inches on this side. I'm going to join all my points together with a nice curvy. Okay, so this right here is my facing. I'm going to just cut this, and cut this out, and that will be the facing for my front pattern. This is my V-neck right here. Like I said, you can make it lower if you want, you can make it wider if you want. It depends on your preference and what you like, but this is what I want. So this is what it's going to be like or look like by the time I'm done. So the plan is to put it right side to right side facing each other like this. Make sure that the V parts are exactly on each other like this. This is the V on the V. I'm going to pin that down to make sure there is no shifting and nobody's misbehaving. So I'm going to just pin this down like this. Let me pin the sides as well. Pins can never be too much. You can pin as much as you want, as much as you're comfortable with. It depends on you. Now, the thing about V-necks is this: they are very tricky. V-necks, they can disgrace you and embarrass you if you allow them to. Now, a trick that I have learned to do is to always go down by 0.5 inches from the exact middle. So I'm going to just notch this and then make sure that I draw a straight line. Okay, so I'll make sure that I draw a straight line at the middle, like so. Yeah, my fabric is a little stretchy, so like it's not behaving well, but you get the gist. So I go down by 0.5 here to here, and I make sure that I draw it straight up like this, so that when I'm sewing my v-neck, I hit this point here, and then I pivot and move all the way back up. If you try to do it without doing that, your v-neck will end up being curvy. Instead of it to be sharp, it will be curvy at this point, and you don't want it to be curvy. You want to be a sharp v-neck. So you take it from here, you make sure that it hits this point right here. From here, and from this here, you measured 0.5 down here as a straight point. Now this point is where you're going to make sure that while you're sewing, it gets here, then you pivot and move all the way up. Okay, we're good, we are good. Okay, and I'm going to just pin it like so. So there we have our v-neck, or our facing for the front. Now we're going to also do the same thing for the back. Now because the shapes are different, I'm going to show you how to create the facing for the back. So I'm going to fold my fabric like so, and then I'm going to take my back pattern, fold like this. Make sure the folded part matches the folded part here, and so I have this. So what I'm going to do now is to mark 3 inches all around everywhere. We're going to do the same thing, and we're going to place right side to right side, right side to right side like this. Yeah, and then we're going to sew. Make sure that everything catches everything. My neckline is looking a little bit crooked, but make sure that everything catches everything. So you just take it like this, yeah, and all the way here. So I'm going to also pin that. This one is easier than a v-neck, so there is no need for much explanation on how to like sew on this one. I'm going to sew this on the sewing machine and bring it right back for you to see. Okay, so I have sewn this v-neck here. I have serged my facing outline right here. So remember the straight line that we did from here to here? What we're going to do is then snip that straight line, but right before your thread. Make sure you don't mistakenly cut your thread. Just snip that straight line to the thread, and then you can also snip around it, snip around it, snip around and snip around it. So after doing all that snips, and then we can turn our v-neck in like so. So we have our v-neck. We can iron it. At this point I would like to iron it, but I'm using my iron right now to hold my ring light in a position that I don't want to explain to anybody, so nobody should ask me what position I'm using my iron to hold my ring light. But you can iron it if you know, it's up to you. Iron it, make sure that the v-neck is flat and everybody is okay. So the next thing is to just sew all the edges together. Like, this is the easier and sweet part. I have also done the same thing for the back neckline. I have serged the inside and I serged the outside. I serged the inside but I couldn't do the same thing for the v-neck until I've sewn it with a normal thread first. It will be very difficult to sew my v-neck with my serger. I don't know if some people already have the skills to be able to do that, to just sew v-neck with serger, but I am humble enough or honest enough to say I don't know how to do that. So I had to sew it first of all with a regular sewing machine before taking it to my serger. So the next thing now is to sew my shoulder to shoulder. Now the way I will sew my shoulder to shoulder is like this. Let's say this is my front neckline and this is the back front shoulder and this is the back shoulder. I'm going to just place them seam to seam like this. So seam to seam, interface to interface like this, and then fold it like this, and then I'm going to serge it the shoulder. Okay, let me explain that again. Let's say this is my back, this is the back pattern and this is the facing, and this is the same thing for the front pattern and facing. I'm going to just place them seam to seam like this, place them seam to seam like this. Make sure that the facings are together and the seam line are together like this, and then I'm just going to fold it like this, okay, and then stitch. Okay, let me show you the back of it. This is what the back of it looks like. You can pin it together so you don't make any mistakes. So let me just pin it like this. So this is what we have. This is what we have right here, and then I'm going to just serge that, and I'm going to do it for both the left side and the right side. And then after the shoulder part, I am then going to serge the sleeve round about it once, because I'm still going to fold it over and hem it. And then after doing that, I'm going to serge the sides, the waist, the hips on both sides, and my dress will be done at that point. So let me do all of that and show you what it looks like after I've sewn all the things that I mentioned that I'm going to sew. BRB. So I have serged everywhere sergeable on my dress. I serged the sides, I've serged the shoulders, I've serged the sleeves and everything else. And the dress is actually ready to go. The only thing, or the last thing that I have to do is to hem these sleeves. And I serged it once so that I can just hem it just one time. So I'll just fold it one time and run a zigzag, a tiny zigzag stitch on it, round about it. Same thing for the bottom. I'm also going to hem the bottom just once and run a tiny zigzag stitch around it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it that one time and I'm going to iron it and then stitch it. Now I'm going to quickly show you real quick on the sewing machine the kind of zigzag stitch I'm talking about to hem your skirts without having a wavy kind of look, because this is a stretchy fabric, so you cannot use a straight stitch for it. If you use a straight stitch, it's not going to look great. So this is a Singer Quantum Stylist 9960, and it already has this tiny zigzag stitch here. I just click this one and this is the tiny zigzag stitch that comes out on this one, so automatically this stitch is set. But if I want to use it on this sewing machine, for example, I have to first of all move it to the zigzag stitch like this, and then I have to reduce the stitch length. I have to reduce the stitch length to about 2 inches, and then I have to reduce the stitch width to also about 2 or one between 1 and 2 inches for it to give me the tiny zigzag stitch. So with the setting that I have put on it, now I'm going to sew my zigzag stitch. Look at the stitch. This is how you want it to look. Look at it. So you see that it is similar to the other stitch. Now let me show you what it looks like. This is what I have. You see my sleeve. It's Batwingy. This is it. And if you wanted it, like I said, if you wanted it to be longer, you can make it longer. If you want it to be fuller, you can make it fuller. If you want the shape to be different, you can make the shape different. But so far so good. This is what I have at my Batwing dress. It's not that Batwingy. I wanted it to be a little bit shapely at the bottom, you know, to flaunt my shapeliness. So this is what I have. It looks cute, don't it? So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you guys sticking with me to this point, and I hope to see you again next week with another banger. Another tutorial. Bye. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.